live from his car in this wonderful weather we have here in Toronto today.
What's the weather? What's the weather? I'm east of the city right now, and like it just started snowing. So like I'm in a blizzard, but like there's really no snow on the ground at all.
Well, there's plenty of snow on the ground here. I don't know if there's anybody watching, but can you hear us okay? Can you hear TK okay, more importantly?
I'm hearing everybody loud and clear. So
You're hearing everybody loud and clear?
oh, I hear me.
That's
And I hear
good.
you.
Okay, well, there's no one else watching at the moment, so I guess, what was that?
What do you got? Aliens at your house?
Bomb just went off in my house.
Oh my gosh. So what are we doing, Darryl? Like today's our live stream. What do you want to talk
about? Shirley, you can hear both of us okay? Well, she says yes.
She says yes.
I can't hear you, so I'll just pretend like you're louder. I'll pretend like you're louder. What? This is embarrassment. What? TK, what are you driving through like a war zone somewhere? It's horrendous. This is horrendous. This is horrendous, TK. You're in the middle of the storm now.
And so
now all of a sudden you drove into the storm.
I'm driving into the storm.
And now we can't hear you and you're chopping up. Okay, so hot topic, TK. You were bang on this past week on our last episode with your take on average incomes in the country. So that was good. Nobody gave you any heat for what you said. That was good.
Not at all.
So you have the pulse of Canadians right there at your fingertips.
Good thing I'm not running for any politics. Holy smokes.
No, but that's the funny thing is the politicians have the same kind of perspective, the same point of view, right? They have, a bunch of money and everybody that they're around has a bunch of money. So they assume that everybody has a bunch of money. And unfortunately, the reality is that the average income in Canada is like $66,000.
For sure.
And so if you string together two people that have average incomes, then you can be around that 120,000 mark, which still doesn't get you anything.
You can buy a house in a lot of places, just not Toronto and not Vancouver. That's all I was trying to say. My point is
caveats.
There's a lot more people who make six figures than people think, and there's enough of those people to buy houses in the most expensive housing markets in Canada, unfortunately, and that the people who are not able to afford in those areas, have to start to consider other options, and there are other places to live. I don't think it's right. I think house prices should be cheaper. I was talking to my friend this week who's getting not evicted. His landlord wants to move into his apartment. And I told him, like, listen, this guy owns multiple properties. He's the reason why you can't go and buy a house for 400 grand, right? It's because this guy wanted to make a bunch of money and kept on buying houses and competed with all the neighbors. And that's what's going on out there is everyone's just been speculating, buying multiple properties the last 20 years and jacked up all the prices. And now the average person can't buy a house. That's the truth. The average person cannot. $66,000, the average income, cannot buy a house. But why is it still sustainable, or why is it still being sustained? Is because there's a bunch of people who make six figures and they're willing to spend as much as the bank is willing to lend them every single month, towards housing. It's crazy.
So, 120 grand doesn't get you much of a house. Where does it get you a house in Toronto? Like it gets you a condo? Or gets you like a torn up bungalow or a shitty townhouse? Condo. So what do you get? Like a 1 bedroom?
Well, it depends on how much your down payment is. But mortgage wise, you're looking at about a $500K mortgage. So
that's the other big problem is even if you are fortunate enough to have multiple average incomes in the same household, you can't fucking save a down payment to buy a decent house because you paycheck to paycheck. Chances are, if you're making $120,000 in Canada, you're borrowing from your credit cards and you're in debt and you've got a leased car or financed cars. You're not just,
100%.
paying your rent, putting some money aside, taking the
You don't, you
bus.
don't, you don't have 200-300K saved because you were, making your own coffee and skipping the avocado toast.
Right. So even if you could actually qualify to pay for the loan, you probably don't have the down payment. So that brings us to the big segment of the market that's been gifted money or handed down a property. And like, what segment, how big is that segment of the market? And if you don't have that, so what, is there a bunch of people coming into Canada with a big chunk of money and a average salary lined up?
Some people coming to Canada have money, so yes, that's the way it is. There's lots of people who are the average people who are 40, maybe 50 years old in their countries, and so they bought properties 20, 30 years ago. They got a little bit of a housing market boom, not like Canada, but still enough for them to sell those properties and come here with 200, 500, a million. Help from mom and dad. What do they do? If they're now 25 years old, the few people who didn't maybe got ahead, like, my age, if you started buying houses mid 20s, the house prices were still reasonable. But if you're now just starting to come into the housing market at my age, or you're younger, for obvious reasons, you're just starting now. What do you do? What do you do? Do you get in the Toronto GTA market? Do you buy a condo? Do you buy a rental property somewhere else and rent here? Do you save your money, rent, invest it? Depends on the type of person you are. But you're sure as heck aren't buying a house that you grew up in the city without help from mom and dad. That's for sure. Not happening.
Nicholas is asking, how old are you, TK?
I'm 38.
TK is a pup, a young pup, 38 years old. But he's been born into the real estate life, so he's been doing this forever. So he's got a really good perspective and a long time in that perspective. But why are you asking that, Nicholas? What difference does that make? Why?
Well, he's just trying to say people my age. I was talking about
Right. People your age.
Well,
So,
12, 15 years ago, if you were buying, then
right.
The house
Well,
price was a lot cheaper then. So you got in the market and you appreciated, right? Like,
well, so you the other day were saying like it's basically the same as it used to be, and people had a tough time back in the 80s and the 70s and the 90s, and this is just a different version of it. And what the numbers actually show, well, we just lost half our audience there all of a sudden. But what the numbers show is that the housing prices skyrocketed so much in the last few years and got so far away from that average wage that the only way to afford a house was through some kind of fraudulent means or shenanigans. Because I think a lot of people, like even you were saying, people can afford it. People have a hard time maybe showing the income the way that the banks want it to be shown. But a lot of people have the ability, one way or another, to afford those payments. It's just not coming in a way that the banks need to see it in order to give you a loan. So it leads people to doing things that are considered illegal in order to get the houses, including the investors who eat up 4 houses, 10 houses, 50 houses, and just kind of really, there's so many factors screwing up the average pricing in the market. But if we didn't have all these outside factors, I guess, yeah, I mean, I guess it seems reasonable to think that the city could keep up on its own, right? We wouldn't push things as high, or maybe not. I mean, how the hell can anybody even know?
This is the bottom line that everybody wants to know, and that's why people are watching any real estate channel. Is they want to know what the market's going to do. And look, there's a ton of pain out there. There's a lot of people who obviously need housing. There's a lot of people who are very, like, you know, struggling from interest rate hikes because they own a property already, and people who want to get into the house. But there's just so much people out there who have money, who have got access to money, who've got good income, high paying jobs. And the value of Canadian real estate in the hearts of Canadians is as high as it's ever been. And that people will continue to sacrifice, will continue to do whatever it takes to be able to get into housing. Do I think prices need to come down in order for them to be, you know, productive for our economy and for the future of our children? Of course. But I just know what it takes for those prices to come down is just so far away from ever happening. It's just crazy what would need to happen for that to happen. The people who own the houses right now are the baby boomers. They got money. They got so much money. They don't need to sell their home. They're not worried about what interest rates are. The few people who do, yeah, okay. There's going to be lots of people who renew their mortgages, lots of people who can't afford those houses. They're going to be forced to sell. But it's not the majority. And that's the issue. And that's why people need to sort of prepare themselves, and that hopefully if they get anything from my opinion that not everyone agrees on is, you know, assess your situation and try to find a way to be able to get into the market. And if it's not the Toronto market, look at your situation with your family. Can you guys go to another city? Can you move somewhere else? Can you commute? What can you do? You know, but waiting for the market to go down, there's a lot of people who are still waiting 10 years from 10 years ago for the market to come back down, and they were at, you know, a $300,000 purchase price 10 years ago that they could have bought in at for today at $1.2 million home. So don't wait too long.
Don't wait too long. Well, you want to hear something crazy? While I was doing my research for this topic, I came across a list that said the average household incomes, or no, it was the average incomes in Canada right now by province, and Ontario was down towards the bottom of the list, which is crazy because our real estate is, you know, obviously, you know, towards the top of the list, if not at the top of the list, but our incomes are towards the bottom of the list. Guess which province has the highest average income?
I think it's Alberta.
No, it's not. And this is crazy.
Yeah.
It's Saskatchewan. So Saskatchewan has houses that are basically free and highest average income.
It's the best place to live that no one wants to live in.
It's the best place to live that no one wants to live in. Meanwhile, if you talk to anybody that's been there or anybody that lives there, they're like, this is the best place to live. It's amazing. The people are great. Everybody's so friendly. It's like a real community. People care about what they're building.
Yeah.
Don't come here, you bastards. Don't screw it up for us.
Don't screw it up. Honestly, Saskatchewan should really do more. Like the federal government should be advertising to live in Saskatchewan like Alberta and Ontario and BC do, because they need some help over there.
They just need a better marketing team for Saskatchewan.
Need a better marketing team for Saskatchewan.
Right? So, I mean, imagine though, but the people from Saskatchewan don't want the marketing team. They want people to think it's like the flattest, coldest, worst place to live so that nobody does what's happening in Calgary. Because as the entire world real estate market is melting down right now, somehow Calgary's average prices are like mooning. Good afternoon, Mawubi. Mr. Jeff O'Toole is here too. Wow, we have a ton of people watching right now. There's like a whole, like we could almost keep an entire teacher busy in a public school right now with the amount of people in this live at the moment. Almost. Like we have room for more in this class, DK. Room for more. Because how many people are in a class right now? 30?
30.
We're not there yet. That's the point. Less marketing, less price increases. Oh, look at that. Right. So that's the thing. and we've touched on this before, is that in Toronto especially, and I guess Vancouver, and more, I guess more over like Ontario and BC, the realtors are wonderful marketers. Actually, if you're doing pre-construction, they're not even considered realtors really as much as they're considered marketing companies. Right? When you're looking to plan a pre-construction campaign, you're dealing with a marketing company that just somehow happens to include a real estate brokerage and some realtors, right? But it's kind of intertwined in the whole marketing, and that is a very good point, Mawubi. Is that
An agent is a marketing firm. So if your agent's not marketing, you have to ask yourself, is your agent really an agent? You know, is a plumber who doesn't know how to change a toilet really a plumber? Right?
well,
Is a
there
cook
are
really a
different.
cook? It's a cook who can't cook. Really a cook? Really a chef?
Well,
Right?
today, a man that is not a man is a woman, or even crazier, is a 13-year-old girl in a swimming competition. But this is the
Okay.
Canadian Real Estate Clips channel, so we won't go down that road. We've got like more people than ever in this live right now, and nobody's doing anything in the chat, TK. We need people in the chat. We need people to subscribe to some channel that has the Canadian Real Estate Show something on it. What else do we need? We need people to like this thing. Only one person liked it. And I don't blame you guys for not liking it, but do us a favor, hit the like button. I see it's not changing, so this obviously isn't doing anything. Okay, Nicholas says, I agree. A lot of wealthy people in Toronto and GTA. What I'm seeing in my area of High Park, that's a little flex there, TK. He's in High Park.
No big
Okay,
deal.
is my
No big deal.
in my little
Just
area of High Park.
a small community of. Okay, go
Is
ahead.
my friends' elderly parents who all own multiple properties are starting to plan to sell. Yes, they are starting to plan. They missed the top of the market. They're still doing well. And they're like, what else am I going to do with this? Because none of my kids want it and they're all idiots, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to sell it and give all these idiots some money, right?
But when the market's down, those people, Nicholas, are not motivated to sell. They kind of hum and they haw and they you know what, it's not a good time because they don't need the money. You know,
Right.
those houses they bought those houses long time ago, and even if they only bought them 10 years ago, they're still doing well. And so that's the issue that I'm facing when I go and meet with people who have those type of situations, and I meet with them often. The motivation is just not there for them to do what's necessary to sell in this market. You know, you got to be willing to, you know, price it at a point that's going to get it sold. You know, I know we're getting multiple offers and all that kind of stuff, but in reality, we're not talking about anything that's too exciting on the prices. You know, we've got a few sales that happen here and there where, you know, prices went up from the last sale quite a bit, but most of them are not. Most of them are just offers on properties, and they're selling for numbers that make sense, and that the agent wasted their time and wasted other agents' times by pricing it $200,000 or $300,000 lower than they should. Like most of the cases, that's what it is. So don't get too
Yeah,
caught up
but
with
the
multiple offers.
But the buyer agent should say, guys, we're staying out of this one. It's stupid. The problem is you don't know where it's gonna go. So you like, don't want to tell
Darryl,
them
this is how the
not.
buyer agent thinks. Well, if I tell them not to offer, they might do it with another agent, and then they might split the
Even
money with
worse.
me. Oh
Even
no.
worse.
Yeah, it's a very scarcity mindset with realtors. I was just at an appointment that I'm coming from now, and they were overpriced by so freaking much. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But you know, the agent wanted the listing really bad, and so of course they listed it at that number. The sellers interviewed other agents, and they were saying lower numbers, even though they were still too high. They said, "Well, these guys are telling us 500 grand more than the last guys. Let's go with them."
Sure.
You know, and
Well,
that's what
when
it is.
well, we like hearing what we want to hear, right? Especially from an agent, especially when we've heard what we didn't want to hear from the last three. When somebody finally tells us what we want to hear, it's
Yeah.
hard not to jump, right?
Beautiful. Yeah. So I
Yeah,
told
it's
these
tough.
guys, I said, get an appraiser said, get an appraiser. I said, honestly, I'm not even going to tell you what I think because it's such a big difference from where you were before. I promise you that you're not going to be happy. I said, call an appraiser, get an appraiser to come in here and see what they say. Call some other realtors, interview everybody and figure out what they say. Here's the comps. This is what they are. We can add in this, that, and the other for the things that are unique with your property. But otherwise, where you were before is just nowhere near reality.
So how many appointments nowadays do you leave thinking to yourself, like, if I would just have not told them the truth about this, I probably could have got this listing, or like,
Zero.
God damn it, like, they just, nobody wants to hear the truth,
No,
like
I never feel that way because I know like I'm telling the truth. But the bottom line is,
giving up listings.
majority of the listings, majority of the appointments, people would go with somebody who said a higher number. I went through this all last year, like so many times, hundreds of
So,
thousands of dollars lost. I watched people list. Sometimes they would go with that agent who would list it for hundreds of thousands more than they should. And then I'd watch them drop the price until they eventually sold for even lower than what I said. And that's just the way it is. It's the name of the game. I mean, I'm not going to put people in a position where they end up getting screwed and they have to take less money because when the market's going down, every month you lose money. So the agents cost them money, but they made some money themselves. So I guess they feel pretty good about it.
so we got AS here, which we will call AS from now on. Is the next 2 years, AS wants to know, is the next 2 years a good time to become a real estate agent? I think it's the best time to become a real estate agent.
Anytime anyone's asked me that question, I don't know like if I've ever answered it really too differently. I mean, it's not an easy business. It's not for everybody. But if you're meant to be a realtor and this is like your path, then why, like, who cares the time that you get listed, what the market's doing or anything like that? Like, if this is your passion, it's what, is it a good time to be a carpenter? You know what I mean? Like, is it a good time to be a teacher? Like, don't worry about the money. Don't get into it for the money. If you're getting into it for the money, it's not for you. Trust me. Making money is not easy and or guaranteed. But if you like doing the work and this is what you want to do, then you shouldn't be worried about the market. You should be going in full steam and becoming a realtor.
I think in a market like this, it's a much better learning environment for someone to start in. I mean, it all depends on where they start, what brokerage, who's kind of looking over them. But if you can make it work in a down market, the up market will definitely seem like a cakewalk compared to nowadays. I think it's always good to start a business in a down market.
I agree with just that in mind. It's better to start in a down market, right? So your
Yeah. So
expectations on what needs to be done to get business is in check, because when you start in this business and all you got to do is run around making offers, over asking with no conditions, or telling people to list it at whatever price they want because no matter what, the market's going to get it sold, you're not exactly cutting your teeth on any real skills here,
no, when you just have to put up a listing and do nothing and then collect the check, it makes it seem like, there should be 80,000 of you in that position all of the time. TK, we have John Cummins asking the capital gain exemption regarding housing to say 1 million lifetime indexed to inflation. I guess he's offering a solution to something here. I'm not sure what that does.
Sorry, I can't read it. Capital gains.
Cap the capital
Up to $1
gains
million.
exemption.
So the principal residence exemption, if you make your $1 million off your principal residence, that's tax free. That's exempt from capital gains. After your $1 million, you can't go any further. I like that. That's
So what does this do? It levels the playing field. So if you were lucky enough to buy a house in Hogs Hollow 60 years ago,
well,
and then you sell your house.
See, this is the issue, that the argument that the people will make. But I know why you're saying that. That you're saying that so that way, the speculation and everything like that disappears from the market, and it becomes less of an asset, like it becomes less of a appreciating asset.
You
It just
can't
becomes
use that if you're
that people want to
speculating.
live. The problem is though, as soon as you implement it, all the people who were gonna sell their homes no longer do, because then they go, geez, I bought my house in Hogs Hollow 40 years ago for 800,000, and now I'm about to take a $5 million gain, and only $1 million is tax free. So then they don't end up actually selling their home. So it actually takes inventory off the market.
Inventory out of the market. That makes sense.
It becomes an obstacle that way. What was the other one that he
For
mentioned?
sure. No, that's all he said. Index to inflation. So I don't know what the hell that means. I guess over time
And
it
then the $1
becomes
million,
less than $1 million.
no, the $1 million goes up.
Goes up.
Yeah. So
Oh,
you'll
right.
allow
Goes up.
more and
Right.
more of an exemption.
That was stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I get why he's saying that. And there's definitely some things that could change. I think that perhaps getting rid of the capital gains exemption, getting rid of capital gains, period, could, or like a 1031 exchange, like in the States, could stimulate more investors in the market, which means that they're going to be more willing to trade out their old inventory, put it into the hands of somebody new who's going to renovate it, fix it up, create more rental stock, buy properties. You know, the guys who are really good at that type of stuff, they're not going to be worried about having the gains afterwards. So I think
Well,
there's
so but
also a
this is the
solution that
whole
removes the tax.
this is the whole problem though that we're talking about, is that more of the wealthier people will own more of the houses because the people that are average just can't fucking afford to buy anything anywhere. And like we were talking about last week, it's like, even if you're willing to move far, you still have to pay over $1 million. If you grew up in Toronto and you're willing to go to Barrie, it's $1 million. If you're willing to go to Newmarket, if you're willing to go to Scarborough, if you're willing to go to Etobicoke or wherever, everywhere, Mississauga, Brampton, like everywhere in Durham, everywhere is over $1 million. Every condo is over $1,000 a foot. So where are people supposed to go? And then on top of it now, rents are so ridiculous. Are you seeing any of the stuff people are posting right now? Somebody, I think it was Justice Queen. She says,
I'm not on X.
it was on Twitter, but Justice Queen says, you know, a jail cell is bigger than some of the spaces that are being rented right now to people, right?
Yeah.
You get a jail cell 6x8. Some people are renting like the top part of a bunk bed in a room with like 2 other mattresses.
Yeah.
This is fucking bananas. But so there's no hope in sight. So if you can't just raise the wages so that people can afford the houses, and all of a sudden everything that those wages touch is more expensive overnight. And you're just stuck in this clusterfuck. So is there even an answer, or are you and I just gonna have something to talk about all the time forever?
Canadian real estate show. We will
Right?
never
Like is that the
solve
reason?
the housing crisis. Like, I mean, the bottom line is that we're so
We're
far deep
perpetuating.
into it. It is just such a cluster bomb of mishandled funds. Look at the Arrive Can app. Pierre's going hard on Trudeau right now with the $258 million that went to this IT company that was out of a basement that had no IT skills, and that they paid $58 million for the Arrive Can app and another like $200 million for other contracts from the government. Like,
But it started as an $80,000 contract too.
yeah, like look at all the things that are actually being done. Like that we've just screwed things up to the point where so much needs to change. It's so difficult to be able to get people to change, and for the governments to change, and for the laws to change, and then for our mindsets on how to navigate the changes so that we can operate in this market. It's a capitalistic society. You know, Canada's got a lot of issues that are going to take a long time to resolve. I still think it's a great place to live. I still think that we're a great country, but you have to look at the rules of the game right now and figure out for yourself, you know, what's best for you and your family, because complaining about it won't change anything. You know, you got to find options. You got to live within your means. And if that means not driving a nicer car or whatever it is, like make those decisions because nobody's going to come and save you, you know?
That's true. Everybody is complaining, and everybody has social media as an outlet to complain. Speaking of complaints, nobody's saying anything in the chat, and we've got more people here that than could fill a kindergarten class in Ontario to the brim.
Mm.
A Now we just lost a couple of people, so now we're down to we can afford a couple more people in the class, TK. Although budgets are being pinched. Whoa, we just had a spike. Can somebody in the chat fucking say something already? For God's sakes, please.
Yeah.
We need another
Otherwise we
question.
gotta cut it. Otherwise we gotta cut it short. It's
TK
half an
has to
hour.
go. As we
Half-
breaking records here. Oh, hold on. Charlotte said something. It's a waste of it is a waste of TK time and money if they go with him. TK has to pay someone to put up a sign and paperwork.
She's talking about the listing with the people who are not serious.
Baby J Rosemary says, "Hi, TK." That's for you, I'm sure. There was an extra
Hey.
I in there. It must have been for you. So once again, TK, we've got nowhere, but there are a bunch of people here wanting us to talk about how the average Canadian is broke. And I think we talked about everything but that so far, because I don't know that the average Canadian is actually broke. I mean, they seem to have money for Netflix and
Thumbnail
Disney
said
Plus and Amazon every 2 seconds and whatever other streaming services and cell phones that cost $2,000. The newest
you know what
laptops.
I did? I did something the other day that made me sick. You know what I did?
We got someone from Regina here, TK. We need to find out about Saskatchewan.
I Googled how much a Chanel purse costs. Okay?
Okay.
Because I'd never done
And
that before.
yeah,
It's over
TK.
$10,000.
Some of them for sure.
No, that was the
TK, why are
cheapest
you
one I
looking up
could find.
Chanel purses? Is it your wife's? Oh, Valentine's Day. TK's having some good times. Look at him.
I did not at
Chanel
all
purse,
think about
10
ever buying a
grand.
Chanel purse
Forget this
for any
shit.
person on the planet. That seems like the
Never
biggest
again.
waste of money in the world. But
Never
I
again.
just wanted to know because I know somebody who was getting some knockoffs, and I was like, why are people going
That
crazy for
sounds
this?
more like TK. Okay,
Why don't they?
knockoffs.
What?
Here we go.
Why don't they go and buy the real thing? And then I looked it up, and I'm like, $10,000-$12,000 for
That's
the real
why.
thing.
That's gonna end soon because
I know.
everybody can't
Let's
possibly think it makes
don't know
sense.
what
Here we
level.
have a
Now,
question here, TK. Another
my one
question.
friend, one more thing. My one friend told me the other day his job is property management, and he was going around to the houses that he manages. And one of the houses is for like a really big family, like very prominent family in Canada. They own a bunch of properties, and he goes to their houses to flush the toilets so that the seals don't dry up, and that's his job. So there's people like that, and then there's people buying fake Louis Vuitton and Chanel purses, which hit me up in the comments if you want to get one. I mean, what's the
But
next
but
question?
but this is also crazy, is like we talked about the other day. $22 an hour, which is $7 more than the base minimum wage, gets you nothing, right? And so two people that are young starting out that want to have the life that people had back in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s are never going to have that here. And that's the big fuck up for everybody. And that's why everybody feels broke, because you can make six figures and still feel broke really easily right now. If you make 100 grand, I don't look at you and think, oh wow, that guy's got it easy. I look at that guy and I go, that guy's fucked right now, because it doesn't go anywhere. And if you make it as a salary and you get your deductions taken off before you even get that paycheck, then you're really fucked, because then you end up with nothing.
But how many people live within their means? Not like so many people when they get another raise or they get a new job, they up their lifestyle.
They already spent the money.
Yeah, and so there's got to be some responsibility here. And obviously, there's some people out there who are doing a great job, and I'm not talking to those guys. I'm talking to the guy who makes 100 grand and is still broke. who hasn't you know, kept his lifestyle on track. Now you got a family and all that kind of stuff. It's a different story. Now obviously there's certain things you can't be living in mom's basement, you know, with your kids, for very long at least. So you know, these are all the things that I hope people learn from this environment, is that, and hopefully things get straightened out, but that living within your means is the only way you're ever going to get ahead. There's so many people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year
Right.
who live paycheck to paycheck, like crazy, crazy, crazy incomes that we would all dream about, and they can't even manage their own finances.
Right, because we see on TV and in the movies, and we look around, and everybody's got a Porsche, and everybody's got a Tesla, and everybody's going to fly here, and going on vacation here, and going to party here, and bottle service there, and everybody's sexy, and everybody's hot, and everybody wants that life, and nobody gets that life because it's not real. Okay, here we go. Does BlackRock and Vanguard buy up residential properties in Canada? And do they use regular real estate agents? They're
Well,
definitely buying
bought
up
Tricon.
property.
They're buying Tricon, which Tricon owns a bunch
Tricon.
of
Yeah.
residential real estate.
And I just heard something. They just lent Freed $300 million.
Yeah.
BlackRock.
Yeah. So the answer is yes, 100%.
They're getting in here deep.
Yeah, and they're not going to stop. They own like 40% of the shares in the S&P 500. Like, I mean, you got three companies who own half the world almost, and you're going to see that only grow. That's it. That's the bottom
But
line.
it doesn't make like it. They're the only people that can make sense out of buying an apartment. If you go look at an apartment building right now, try and make sense. Even if you get it at a 4 cap, let's say, okay, when you put debt on that thing, the numbers, they don't make sense. It's so hard to get because everybody wants like a 3 cap, a 2 cap, a 4 cap. And you can't do that at today's rates. Like it just doesn't work.
The sellers want it. Yeah, the buyers want
The
6,
sellers
7, 8
want it.
cap. The sellers want it nice and low, and they want that price, and it just doesn't work.
Sure, and nothing can move because it doesn't make any sense unless you're a BlackRock or a Vanguard and you're coming in with cash and you don't even give a shit if the thing makes money or doesn't make money. You just want to buy everything because you have a whole different agenda, right? You're not there trying to make money on this. I can make any apartment building pro forma make sense over a 50-year timeline. Okay? If I add
Go ahead.
Well, if I add to the rent 2% a year, like I'm allowed to over 50 years, it's hard to find the project that doesn't make any sense, right? So it's like these guys, they can afford to just pay out whatever 6%, 7% to all their investors and hang on to everything for as long as possible and just like play a totally different game. But we kind of need those guys right now because who the hell, like, mom and pops are selling because they think it's top of market. So who's buying? Because nobody else can make sense unless you have cash, I think.
Yeah.
Or a redevelopment strategy that can enhance the property.
Yeah. So they
Can't make any goddamn sense.
The other part of the question was, would they use a regular real estate agent, which is an interesting question. And I don't see why not. I mean, if they started to
these are side room deals. These are not.
I'm not talking about the big deals that they're buying up, that kind of stuff.
They have a listing.
There's people who are brokering those. But if
BlackRock buys like a whole family's portfolio of 20 buildings. They're not like buying one building on the market.
Well, I'm just letting you know that they may end up having a company that buys properties that are listed. If they start getting into single family homes, that's the only
for sure.
Yeah,
then they have to 100%. Okay, hold on. We got so many questions here all of a sudden, TK. Do you still have time or are you at your next appointment?
We got 5 minutes to answer the questions. Let's go.
Okay, here, let me pick a good one here. This is, sorry, John, not a good one. Nicholas, I think that's a great mentality, TK, and I agree, but there's a change among people my age under 30. We don't care to hunker down and LOL eat crap and own a bungalow. You see, this is what I'm talking about. They don't want that life. They don't want to save up and hunker down. They'd rather rent and like work 2 jobs here and one job not know about the other job and, live paycheck to paycheck, but not have to worry about a mortgage and bullshit and I don't know. There's a different mentality out there for sure. They have to. Because if they want what we all got to have so easily, like, they're fucked. Right? No? All right.
Yeah, I'm in. Yeah,
Household
yeah.
housing costs based on income is way out. Based on income, housing seems to be 6 to 10 times higher, which is insane. We are looking to move out to northern BC and have no debt, says Gandalf the Great. Oh, we got another
I think
like,
that's a
TK.
great idea that
This is
you're
what you got to
able
do.
to move to North BC and live mortgage free, and that's where you
Mortgage
need to
free.
go.
You got to
That
make a lateral move. You got to go sideways, take money
yeah,
off the table,
go
right?
to Saskatchewan, like go to the Maritimes, do the move that makes sense for you and your family. If you are pulling in $200,000+ household income, then stay in Toronto and enjoy this life because you know you and your partner both have good jobs. Like, okay, I get it. There's a lot of those people. If you don't have that situation at home, you're competing with those other people, and they're gonna win.
They're going to win.
They're gonna
Well,
win.
here, so Nicholas says 100K after taxes, renting in Toronto is barely making it. You can only cut so much. That cutting doesn't amount to anything. 10 years of hunkering down at 100K saves you peanuts.
Renting
It's
what
true.
though? You're talking about renting your own space. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Listen, what I'm about to say is like, how dare
Uh-oh.
you? But
Uh-oh.
renting a room is a lot less than the average rent for your own apartment in Toronto.
Yeah, listen, if you talk to a lot of successful people that, moved to a different city or a different country, they had a roommate. Even back in the day, they had a roommate or two roommates or four roommates.
Yeah.
And they did what they had to do. You hear
Friends.
stories of
Don't you
people that
remember Friends?
slept on the office sofa and
Yeah.
slept, wherever at their friends' houses.
Rachel and Monica, they were roommates.
Rachel and
They didn't
Monica,
have that.
that's who I
They
was
didn't have
thinking
that
about.
place. They didn't have that place on their own.
That's right.
Are you
Well,
better than Rachel and
PK,
Monica?
we should go while we're at our peak. Like, we got 30 people in here.
All right.
Hey, guys, if you're in here still, oh, no, 28. I just psyched people out. Out of the 28 of you, we need 10 of you to hit that thumbs up button right now and hit a subscribe button somewhere. Go. Let me see that like button go up. The number should go up. It's very, very,
Can I
very
do it?
small.
No.
Nobody's doing it. But the amount of people in the room is going up. Oh, there we go. We got one. We got another like. TK, you want to do one more? Well, we got people interested in what we're saying? Or you got to go? We lost your audio now completely. You're gone. You're gone. It's not working. Just see your lips moving. What'd you do? Well, oh, TK's gone, which means I should probably go too. Jesse, hello. How you doing? Everybody, there's 29 of you. Hit that like button. Let's go. Let's go. Get this out to more people, please. Saving is not the issue. Speculation is the problem. Tax it. Listen, guys, there's no solution to this. Everything is fucked, and it's going to be fucked for a long time. Do what you got to do. There is a lot of money to be made in real estate development. You should learn how to develop real estate. Good chat, Gandalf. Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone. Thanks for all the love and the likes and for being here. And chill out. See ya. Peace out. Bye.